Hi, my name is Razman Arzadi. I'm from Malaysia. I study in University of Western Australia. And now I'm in the short-term program at Universitas Airlangga. Firstly, I'd like to say that I'm very impressed, and I thank the university for this opportunity. So far, everything in Surabaya has been great. Number one, of course, the food. It's amazing. Similar to back home in Malaysia, but maybe a bit more opportunities and a lot of new things that I've not really tried before. And the people, well, everyone so far has been very friendly, and I'm very appreciative of that. This program has been very easy to immerse myself in, and I've enjoyed myself so far. Yep. Thank you, and Universitas Airlangga, excellence with morality.
Hey guys, my name is Marius. I'm 25 years old and from Germany. I'm studying in the Netherlands because it's close to the border of Germany at the Fontys International Business School, and my major program is international marketing. I've chosen the Universitas Airlangga Unair in Surabaya because I think that Indonesia is a really beautiful country. The people are so kind and are always smiling. And I've chosen the Airlangga Unair University because I can combine 14 different faculties and choose the courses that I want to study. It's a huge pleasure for me to be part of the Amerta program. I'm studying with lots of different students from all around the globe, and I can learn about their cultures and about their personal experience. My best experience from the program was the free cultural trip to Yogyakarta. We went there by bus with nearly 80 students and staff from the AGE office, and we visited lots of temples and a water palace that was really huge and was so interesting, and we have learned a lot about the culture and we had lots of fun together. The process of applying for visa here in Indonesia is really hard to do it on your own, but the support of the AGE is really huge in this kind of matter. They are helping you, for example, to go together to the immigration office and to help to extend the visa.
I am from Management and Science University, and I'm majoring in Bachelor in Forensic Science. I'm from Malaysia. So basically why I choose Surabaya, Unair as my destination of studies, because I think it is close to my home, Malaysia. And then I can just go back anytime I want, and yeah, that's good, right? Then I think because of our language is almost similar, so I will be comfortable to talk to the local people, because I think I can speak Indonesian language fluently. I think Amerta program is perfect because firstly, I love when they provide us a very good meals in every event, like the opening ceremony, and for the cultural trip, we are always provided with the good meals. why I like it. And now I would like to share my most memorable experience here in Unair is when they brought us to the cultural trip to Yogyakarta. I've never been to Yogyakarta in my life, so it was my first experience in which I like it. I'm very happy. I was excited for it. In Yogyakarta, what I like the most is when they brought us to visit Prambanan, Candi, and yeah, I will never forget massive support given by Amerta or AGE team during my very first class here. I mean, like at first we were kind of messed up because we were not given the schedule right on time, but luckily Miss Wilda is here to help us to coordinate our timetable perfectly. Like if we are having miscommunication with the lecturer, Miss Wilda will try to help us to like communicate or get engaged to the lecturer better. That's it.
Celeste and I'm from the Netherlands. I study at the Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences and my major is International Business and Management Studies. So I choose Surabaya because my relatives live here, so it's very easy to go here. I don't need to search for housing. Also, it's a very central point to travel anywhere. And I choose Unair University because it's a very good university, one of the best of Indonesia. The student life at Unair is very good. They have 3 campuses in total with very good facilities, like they have a lot of food corners, mini markets, places where you can study, and also coffee shops. So I really like the campus life here. The most memorable thing and experience here is definitely the Gili Labak trip. It was organized by one of our buddies, and yeah, the island was just beautiful, like it was really a paradise, and we had so much fun with each other and got to know everyone. So yeah, it was definitely the best experience. HEE gives really good support during the Amerta program. If you have a problem, they will answer like immediately on WhatsApp. Also, we were given like buddies, so yeah, they would like introduce Surabaya, they would go to show you some stuff. Surabaya was really nice, and also visa extension, pick-up service from the airport, and also the housing. If you need to search for a house, they will help you with all of that. So that's really good.
My name is Jean-Jacques. I'm from Madagascar, and I'm a student here. I'm taking my aid in Erlangen University, and we Erlangen, for example, like, for example, like at each campus, because there are 3 campuses, A, B, and C, and each campus has its own clinic, and it's really facilitating us for if you are sick. And also other facilities, for example, like the library itself, like this place, it's really great because for us students, like especially for taking PhD, it's really hard, so we have to have, access for example, like information technology, where it allows us for e-journals. All those resources really available at Erlangen University, so I'm really lucky that I have chosen this university. And second off, because of the environment itself. It's really cool, it's a really green campus, and there's no pollution at all, and all the people are really friendly. And the students, like my classmates, and also like there's availability of canteen and everywhere. Like, you're so glad that I chose this university.
Hello everybody, I am Shah Faisal from Pakistan, and I am here studying Master of Community Pharmacy and Faculties Pharmacy University Erlangen. The university is based on international standards. Every facility at international institutes needs the university has all these facilities like experienced staff, cooperative administration, internet facilities, a flash bus for transportation, sporting events, playgrounds. Every faculty has a special library regarding the books, a variety of books you can study, the parking, the cafeterias.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. My name is Ali Raza. I am a doctoral student of economics in University of Erlangen. As a research student, there is a research center for doctoral students, which is called POSA Data or Data Center. It's help about you about any research type. If you have any difficulty about research, they provide you any type of data and writing facilities and how to write for a good journal.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Universitas Erlangen, with our motto, excellence with morality, is determined to produce graduates, researchers, or academics who are not only excellent in their expertise, but also have a great concern for people and good significant contribution in improving the welfare of the society. As a public university, Universitas Erlangen is committed to build and strengthen collaboration with institutions around the world through academic activities, research, and community services. Therefore, I would like to invite you all to work together with us through academic partnership for serving all communities. I look forward to welcoming you in Universitas Erlangen in the near future. Thank you.
Surabaya is one of the oldest cities in Indonesia, which full of Indonesian historical heritage. Despite its rapid development, which makes Surabaya growing up as the second largest city in Indonesia, the historical heritage in this city are well preserved. In Surabaya, Universitas Airlangga was established. Universitas Airlangga is the second oldest university in Indonesia. Since it was established in 1913, Universitas Airlangga has become the best university in the eastern part of Indonesia, proven by the students' various achievements, both in academic and non-academic field. Universitas Airlangga has expanded to 14 faculties, which located in its three main campuses, Campus A, B, and C. One of the faculties is Faculty of Science and Technology, located in Campus C.
Welcome to Faculty of Science and Technology.
Faculty of Science and Technology is an expansion of Faculty of Mathematics and Science Universitas Airlangga, which established since 1982, and in April 10, 2008, it officially became Faculty of Science and Technology. FST has 4 departments, and each of them administers several study programs. Mathematics Department administers Mathematics, Information System and Statistics. Physics Department administers Physics and Biomedical Engineering. Biology Department administers Biology, Environmental Science and Technology, and Biology Master Program. Chemistry Department administers undergraduate and master program of chemistry, and there is also Mathematics and Science postgraduate program, which administered by the faculty.
I'm so proud to be part of FST. As a faculty with national and international standard, FST gives me many facilities to support my academic and non-academic activities such as laboratories, student center, and sports center. Friendly lecturer helped me to broaden my viewpoint so that I can appreciate toward nature and environment. And the important thing that I have many diverse friends from Sabang to Merauke.
The main vision and mission of FST Universitas Airlangga is to become the leader in developing science and technology and to build and develop civilized, moralized, and environmentally friendly society. To actualize that, FST Universitas Airlangga continues to develop itself to become a better study place and study destination. This is proven by the accredited and certified study programs in FST, both nationally and internationally.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Hashir bin Fadil. I'm from Malaysia and I'm studying in Management and Science University, and I'm taking Bachelor in Forensic Science. So, based on my experience here around a month, I can see the lecturers are more friendly and they're talkative. And when during the lecture, they like to talk and explain more rather than using the slide, because of I think they're more experienced and knowledgeable.
My name is Nadia binti Norazam. I came from Malaysia. I'm studying in Management and Science University in Malaysia. I'm taking Bachelor of Forensic Science there. My experience in Faculty of Science and Technology here really have a great moment.
In 2016, FST also support Universitas Airlangga's target to reach top 500 world-class university by strengthening the learning system and increasing the publications. The excellence of FST Universitas Airlangga in education, research, and community service is proven not only by the students and lecturers' achievements in national and international competitions and publications, but also reflected by the global networking and collaboration with the industry and other educational institutions in various fields. To support the students' academic and non-academic activities, FST Universitas Airlangga has some facilities such as fully equipped classrooms, laboratories with advanced research instruments, library with newest literatures, books, encyclopedias, magazines and journals, Student Center as the core of students' organizational activities, greenhouse, computer laboratories, fast internet access, sports center, mosque, and gazebo.
On behalf of Dean of Faculty of Science and Technology, Universitas Airlangga, I would like to introduce the faculty briefly. Since 2008, Faculty of Science and Technology, Universitas Airlangga is not only producing scientists but is also the engineers with fundamental academic skill for the advancement of modern way of life. We have around 3,000 students, international lecturers, and many international collaboration, including classes, researches, and publication. In 2021, we are pleased to say that Universitas Airlangga is currently ranked from 521 until 530 in QS World University ranking and among top 5 universities in Indonesia. It is our mission to create professionals with global perspective, provide excellent opportunities for students to travel and learn from their counterparts all around the world. All staff members have been exercised with new ideas of learning, latest designing and perfecting experimental techniques. Please come and join us and let's face the challenge of creating your journey together.
Hi, my name is Razman Arzadi. I'm from Malaysia. I study in University of Western Australia. And now I'm in the short-term program at Universitas Airlangga. Firstly, I'd like to say that I'm very impressed, and I thank the university for this opportunity. So far, everything in Surabaya has been great. Number one, of course, the food. It's amazing. Similar to back home in Malaysia, but maybe a bit more opportunities and a lot of new things that I've not really tried before. And the people, well, everyone so far has been very friendly, and I'm very appreciative of that. This program has been very easy to immerse myself in, and I've enjoyed myself so far. Yeah. Thank you, and Universitas Airlangga, excellence with morality.
Hey guys, my name is Marius. I'm 25 years old and from Germany. I'm studying in the Netherlands because it's close to the border of Germany at the Fontys International Business School, and my major program is international marketing. I've chosen the Universitas Airlangga Unair in Surabaya because I think that Indonesia is a really beautiful country. The people are so kind and are always smiling. And I've chosen the Airlangga Unair University because I can combine 14 different faculties and choose the courses that I want to study. It's a huge pleasure for me to be part of the Amerta program. I'm studying with lots of different students from all around the globe, and I can learn about their cultures and about their personal experience. My best experience from the program was the free cultural trip to Yogyakarta. We went there by bus with nearly 80 students and staff from the AGE office, and we visited lots of temples and a water palace that was really huge and was so interesting, and we have learned a lot about the culture and we had lots of fun together. The process of applying for visa here in Indonesia is really hard to do it on your own, but the support of the AGE is really huge in this kind of matter. They are helping you, for example, to go together to the immigration office and to help to extend the visa.
I am from Management and Science University, and I'm majoring in Bachelor in Forensic Science. I'm from Malaysia. So basically why I choose Surabaya, Unair as my destination of studies, because I think it is close to my home, Malaysia. And then I can just go back anytime I want, and yeah, that's good, right? Then I think because of our language is almost similar, so I will be comfortable to talk to the local people, because I think I can speak Indonesian language fluently. I think Amerta program is perfectly perfect, because firstly, I love when they provide us a very good meals in every event, like the opening ceremony, and for the cultural trip, we are always provided with the good meals. that's why I like it. And now I would like to share my most memorable experience here in Unair is when they brought us to the cultural trip to Yogyakarta. I've never been to Yogyakarta in my life, so it was my first experience in which I like it. I'm very happy. I was excited for it. In Yogyakarta, what I like the most is when they brought us to visit Prambanan, Candi, and yeah, I will never forget massive support given by Amerta or AGE team during my very first class here. I mean, like at first we were kind because we not even schedule right on time. But luckily, Miss Wilda is here to help us to coordinate our miscommunication with the lecturer. Miss Wilda will try to help us to like communicate or get engaged to the lecturer better. That's it.
Celeste and I'm from the Netherlands. I study at the Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences and my major is International Business and Management Studies. So I choose Surabaya because my relatives live here, so it's very easy to go here. I don't need to search for housing. Also, it's a very central point to travel anywhere. And I choose Unair University because it's a very good university, one of the best of Indonesia. The student life at Unair is very good. They have 3 campuses in total with very good facilities, like they have a lot of food corners, mini markets, places where you can study, and also coffee shops. So I really like the campus life here. The most memorable thing and experience here is definitely the Gili Labak trip. It was organized by one of our buddies, and yeah, the island was just beautiful, like it was really a paradise, and we had so much fun with each other and got to know everyone. So yeah, it was definitely the best experience. HEE gives really good support during the MERTA program. If you have a problem, they will answer like immediately on WhatsApp. Also, we were given like buddies, so yeah, they would like introduce Surabaya. They would go to show you some stuff. Surabaya was really nice. And also visa extension, pickup service from the airport, and also the housing. If you need to search for a house, they will help you with all of that. So that's really good.
My name is Jean-Jacques. I'm from Madagascar, and I'm a student here. I'm taking my PhD in social science at Erlangen University. And one of the reasons why I decided to choose Erlangen, first off, the facility itself. For example, like hospitals, for example, like at each campus, because there are 3 campuses, A, B, and C, and each campus has its own clinic, and it's really facilitating us for if you are sick. And also other facilities, for example, like the library itself, like this place, it's really great because for us students, like especially for taking PhD, it's really hard, so we have to have access for example, like information technology, where it allows us for e-journals. All those resources really available. Of the environment itself. It's really cool, it's a really green campus, and there's no pollution at all, and all the people are really friendly, and the students, like my classmates, and also like there's availability of canteen and everywhere. Like, we're so glad that I chose this university.
Hello everybody, I am Shah Faisal from Pakistan, and I am here studying Master of Community Pharmacy in Faculties Pharmacy, University Erlangen. The university is based on international standards. Every facility at international institutes needs the university has all these facilities like experienced staff, cooperative administration, internet facilities, a flash bus for transportation, sporting events, playgrounds. Every faculty has a special library regarding the books, a variety of books you can study, the parking, the cafeterias.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. My name is Ali Raza. I am doctorate student of economics in University of Erlangen. As a research student, there is a research center for doctorate student, which is called POSA Data or Data Center. It's help about you about any research type. If you have any difficulty about research, they provide you any type of data and writing facilities and how to write for a good journal.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Universitas Erlangen, with our motto, Excellence with Morality, is determined to produce graduates, researchers, or academics who are not only excellent in their expertise, but also have a great concern for people and good significant contribution in improving the welfare of the society. As a public university, Universitas Erlangen is committed to build and strengthen collaboration with institutions around the world through academic activities, research, and community services. Therefore, I would like to invite you all to work together with us through academic partnership for serving all communities. I look forward to welcoming you in Universitas Erlangen in the near future. Thank you.
Surabaya is one of the oldest cities in Indonesia, which full of Indonesian historical heritage. Despite its rapid development, which makes Surabaya growing up as the second largest city in Indonesia, the historical heritage in this city are well preserved. In Surabaya, Universitas Airlangga was established. Universitas Airlangga is the second oldest university in Indonesia. Since it was established in 1913, Universitas Airlangga has become the best university in the eastern part of Indonesia, proven by the students' various achievements, both in academic and non-academic field. Universitas Airlangga has expanded to 14 faculties, which located in its three main campuses, Campus A, B, and C. One of the faculties is Faculty of Science and Technology, located in Campus C.
Welcome to
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In a few minutes, we will start our international conference today. So please be prepared. We are waiting for our honorable guests and all the keynote speakers for joining with us. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, in a few minutes, we will start our agenda today. And we are still waiting for all the keynote speakers and the honorable guests in today's event. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in this occasion, you may use the virtual background provided by the committee. And you may open your camera so we can see each other, right? Once again, in a few minutes, we will start our agenda in today's event. So please be prepared. Well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Good morning, honorable guests, Vice Rector for Research, Innovation, and Community Development of Universitas Airlangga, the Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology Universitas Airlangga, all keynote speakers, presenters, and participants. Welcome to the first International Student Conference on Biotechnology and Life Science, jointly organized with video conferencing with Universitas Airlangga di Kota. I'm Jordan, undergraduate student of the Department of Biology, the Faculty of Science and Technology Universitas Airlangga. Today, I will guide you as Master of Ceremony through Inscobiol jointly organized with Dekota. This conference will run from 9 a.m. to 3:25 p.m. Western Indonesian time. We are also provide live streaming through our YouTube channel Inscobiol 2021. First, I will explain the rules of this conference. All participants are expected to actively join in all sessions of this conference as much as possible. Attendance record link will be shared on YouTube channel Inscobiol 2021. Please use the virtual background provided by the committee, and please rename your Zoom username according to the following formats. For the presenters, you may write code of room _ code of presenter _ name _ institution. And for the participant, you may write participant _ code of room _ name _ institution. Please mute the microphone, especially during the presentation. At the end of conference, we will provide a link for post-conference survey, and respondents will be given certificates. All right, as for agenda in today's conference, we will start with welcoming remarks. Then in the morning session, we will have keynote presentations from 3 wonderful speakers, followed by panel discussion. After the break, we will have 4 parallel sessions for ecology and environmental sciences, health sciences, microbiology and molecular biology, and also plant sciences. And for the closing, we will announce the best presenter from each parallel session. All right, it's already time. The conference will start soon. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the first International Student Conference on Biotechnology and Life Science, jointly organized with video conferencing with Universitas Airlangga di Kota, organized by the Biology Master's Study Program, the Department of Biology, the Faculty of Science and Technology Universitas Airlangga. For now, let's bow our heads for a moment and pray according to our beliefs. Prayer begins. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you all please rise for the playing of Indonesia Raya. You may please be seated. For the next, we will have welcome remarks and opening remarks by Vice Rector for Research, Innovation, and Community Development of Universitas Airlangga, Professor Dr. Ninyo Mantri Puspaningsih. The time is yours, Professor.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, good morning. Our honorable keynote speaker, Professor Pei Ersao from Sun Yat-sen University in China. Also, Dr. Azhar Rasul from Government College University, Faisal Abad, Pakistan. Dr. Armando Geraldi from Faculty of Science and Technology, Universitas Airlangga. It's very nice to meet you. In the first, before starting this conference, we have already also introduced ourselves and also discussed about the field of the research among us, and also this is very good opportunity among our university with Professor Pei Ersao and also Dr. Azhar Rasul to open a new collaboration in the future. And also, of course, also our Honorable Professor Dr. Muhammad Yasin, the Dean of Faculty of Science and Technology, Universitas Airlangga, distinguished guests, and all students of biotechnology and life sciences. I hope that you and your family, your communities are all keeping safe amidst this pandemic. So on behalf of Rector Universitas Airlangga, this is my pleasure to welcome all participants today at the first International Student Conference on Biotechnology and Life Sciences, or Inscobiol 2021. I welcome all the prominent speakers and guests from across the globe, from multidisciplinary fields you have attended this conference to share your expertise and also vast experience with the student community. It is very wonderful to see that this event has been the first international student conference in the history of our institution to be conducted entirely on a digital platform in line with the social distancing norms due to COVID-19 pandemic. I'm happy to see that the animosity of our academic communities remains high. Lecturers have been persistent in bringing forward new methods of online teaching, and also students have been passionate in achieving their academic fulfillments. So please give ourselves a big round of applause for surviving this unprecedented situation. In this regard, I would like to extend my gratitude to not only the participants for attending this event, but also the community who has been working hard to realize this event. The theme for today's conference is Research in Biotechnology and Life Sciences to support the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm sure everyone is already familiar with the term of Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, as it rings everywhere nowadays. This is not without any reason. As coined by the United Nations, SDGs are development that aim to improve the quality of life of people around the world, both for present and also future generation, without exploiting the use of natural resources that exceed the capacity of the earth. As we know, there are 17 goals that are implemented universally and also integrally and also inclusively to ensure that no one will be left behind, as the motto says. To achieve the goals, I believe that the engagement of multitude of disciplines and of so many people are necessary. This is where we can also contribute to the achievement of SDGs. As an academic community, especially in the biotechnology and life sciences area, I trust that we hold an essential role in transforming and innovating ways of live to eventually eradicate poverty, hunger, tackle climate change, and delivery equality. Moreover, the essence of this conference will be the use of biotechnology, molecular biology, zoology, plant science, microbiology, ecology, and other life sciences topics to achieve the 17 SDGs. We are proud to announce that this conference is being conducted along with the cooperation between the master student in biology at Universitas Airlangga, especially from Faculty of Science and Technology, and with Sun Yat-sen University, as well also Government College University Faisal Abad. There will be plenty of knowledge enhancing activities in the conference, and it is hoped that the student could broaden their horizon and also help solving current local, governmental, and also international issues. I kindly request all students to make use of this conference to the best of their abilities. I believe that this international event will be a fine platform for us to exchange our knowledge and perspective in respective topic. Lastly, I wish you all health and success. And then let's begin and enjoy the Inscobiol 2021. Thank you, and formally, officially, I open this international meeting. Thank you very much and have a good conference. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, thank you, Professor Nyoman. The next one is welcome remarks by the Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology, Universitas Airlangga, Professor Dr. Muhammad Yasin.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear Honorable Professor Nyoman as Vice Rector for Research, Innovation and Community Development, Dr. Alfia Hayati as Coordinator Study Program, Master of Biology, keynote speaker, Professor Fei Shao from Sun Yat-sen University, Guangzhou, China, Dr. Azhar Rasul, Professor at Faculty of Life Science, Government College University, Faisalabad, Pakistan, and Dr. Armando Geraldi from Faculty Science of Technology, Erlangga University. I'm pleased to welcome you to International Student Conference on Biotechnology and Life Science, Inscobiol 2021. This conference organized by study program Master Biology Faculty Science and Technology Universitas Airlangga. It's high time that such an event took place to highlight the remarkable contribution which biotechnology and life science application make in so many areas of our lives, and we all understand that it is the way in which they are transforming the world. It is, if this was not clear early, it is blindingly obvious now in this time of the COVID-19 pandemic and still in progress. Science and technology and innovation are indispensable for our response to and recovery from this crisis. This online conference is our opportunity to demonstrate that transformation is possible and is happening right now in so many places with so many innovation and with engagement of so many people. Life science and biotechnology is embedded in the Sustainable Development Goals together with advancing science and technology as goal 14 and 15. But life science and biotechnology must not be limited to SDGs 14 and 15. They cut across all the SDGs as an important element of implementation. Over the next 15 years, progress in science, technology, and innovation will be key to delivering on all the SDGs, from poverty eradication to agriculture and food security to energy to water and sanitation and climate change. Linking science, technology, and innovation with progress is sustainable development at the ground level is the greatest challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that by participating in this online seminar, we are in the right place and the right time. Together, let us accelerate the exchange of ideas and scaling up of good practices. I am confident in this event you will find new ideas, fresh energy, and novel partnerships to sustain your effort in support of the SDGs and recovery from COVID-19 through life science and biotechnology. I wish you every success with this important conference and look forward to learning about the outcome. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Yasin. And for now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite all of you to open your camera to take a picture together. And you may give your warm smile for today's event. First, we will start the photo session with all the keynote speakers and the honorable guests. So please be prepared. Okay, we'll start the photo session. First, we will capture the first slide.
Okay,
Stay on your position. I will take photo session. 1, 2, 3. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Once again lagi for all presenter, the participant. For page 1, I will take photo session. Stay on for your position. 1, 2, 3. Page 2, I will take. Stay on your position. 1, 2, 3. Page 3. Please turn your camera for page 3. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. For page. 1, 2, 3. 5 page. 1, 2, 3. And the last page. I will take photo. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please give a virtual applause for all of us in today's event. Okay. In a manner of speaking, for the honorable guest, you may leave the room to proceed or continue your others activities. Once again, we are beyond thankful for your attendance in today's beneficial session. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's start our main event presentations from our 3 keynote speakers. The keynote presentations will be guided by Ms. Nadia Sokat as the moderator. To Ms. Nadia, the time is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jordan. And thank you, Unair, for having me here today. A very good morning to all of you from Indonesia. I'm your moderator, Nadia Sokat, a student of Masters of Biology at Universitas Airlangga. With the permission of committee, I will start our keynote speaker session. How wonderful indeed, because our keynote speakers for today hail from 3 different countries. Our speakers, young and vibrant, are here to share with us their knowledge and experience on development of target-specific cancer drugs on nanograms. We will see them solving the problems of side effects of cancer therapies, and they will be telling us of using latest bioinformatics tools for the study of microorganisms. Before moving on, please pay attention to some important information. For this session, presentation time for our respective keynote speaker is 20 minutes maximum for each presentation. All of your questions will be answered at the end of presentation. And all participants, please do mute your microphones especially during the presentation. So let the ball rolling, and I would like to introduce to all of you our first speaker from China, Professor Dr. Phi Er So. Professor Dr. Phi Er So is currently serving as professor at Guangdong Provincial Key Lab of Malignant Tumor Epigenetics Gene Regulation, Medical Research Center, Department of Zoology, Sun Yat-sen University, China. Dr. So holds a bachelor degree in biotechnology from University of Malaysia, Sabah, Malaysia, and PhD in biological sciences from Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. Dr. So published 43 articles in well-reputed international journals from 2015 to 2021. She published 1 international patent and 2 Korean patents. Dr. So was honored as 100 top scholars of Sun Yat-sen University Talent Recruitment Program. She is the recipient of Meta Vivor Young Investigator Award 2017 and Brigham and Women's Hospital Micro Grant Award 2016. Doctor's publication was listed as top 4 most cited publications in the field of radio-oncology in South Korea 2016. She is the winner of Guangdong Province Excellent Youth Scientist Award 2021 and grant for 111 International Project of Sun Yat-sen Memorial Hospital 2021 to 2026. And today we will see Dr. Saw sharing her knowledge on nanomedicine for cancer therapy. I welcome Dr. Fee Erso. Please, ma'am, the time is yours.
Thank you, Nadia. You all can hear me, right? So let me start sharing my screen first. And yeah, so, all right. Everybody's clear? All right. Yes. All right, good. So first, thank you so much, Nadia, for the introduction. And I'm actually from Malaysia. So we are, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
we are sorry.
So thank you for having me. And today I'm going to talk about lipid-based nanomedicine for cancer therapy. So this is my education and work experience. So I'm actually from Malaysia. So I was in University of Malaysia, Sabah. And then I went to KAIS where I met Pak Gary. He used to be Mas Gary, now he's Pak Gary. So yeah, we met each other and then we were very good friends. And I went to Harvard for postdoc, and then now I'm working at Sun Yat-sen Memorial Hospital in Guangzhou. So besides my major, what I'm doing now in my university is that I correct manuscripts and I edit the language for my university. So I think the current statistic now is that I corrected about 300 manuscripts and accepted about 150 manuscripts now. And I'm also the executive editor of a new journal, which is called Biointegration, which if time permits, I will share a little bit about that. So let's talk about cancer. Why is it so deadly? And the fact is that in a few years, 1 out of 2 men or 1 out of 3 women will have cancer. So, and cancer it's deadly, and we don't have a good cure or a treatment, and it's going to increase by a lot, by 50% in a few years time, and the death rate will be increased by 60%. So cancer is number 1 or number 2 leading case of death in the world. So why isn't there a cure for cancer? Because now as we delve deeper into the science, we know that cancer is not a single disease. In fact, it's a large family, and sometimes it's related, but it's a different disease, but they actually all link to cancer. And secondly, cancer cells are heterogeneous. What does that mean is that in a single tumor, it's not just cancer. There are a lot of trauma cells, which I will go into deeper later. And they do evolve. They grow very quickly. They have a lot of mutation. And when this happens, they become resistant to the drug and the therapy becomes useless. And cancer cells are actually very smart. They do whatever they can to survive, and that means they can evade immune system, or they can do whatever they need to do to survive. So how can we tackle this problem? So we now know that there are these 3 current cancer therapy, which is the first line: surgery, radiotherapy, and chemotherapy. So when surgery is not an option, then they will combine radiotherapy and chemotherapy. And I don't know about Indonesia, but especially in China now, that chemotherapy is still the first choice. So chemotherapy means just you give drugs, and then the drug was potent enough to kill the cancer cells. So now we talk about nano, how nano is going to fit in this cancer therapy. And we know that there's many different type of nanoparticles. You may have heard about it, like lipid-based nanoparticles, polymers, drug conjugates, and all this. But the question is, why can we use nano in the first place? So actually, we have to thank a Japanese researcher, because in the 1950s, they found out that the blood vessels in the normal cells are actually different from the cancer cells. So if you look at the left figure, in the normal blood vessel cells, you can see the pericytes are intact. The blood vessel is beautiful. Its architecture is good. And when you go to tumor and you get all these leaky blood vessels, why? Because they need oxygen, they need nutrient. So they build roads to get that. And so when they build it fast, there's surely to be gaps in the blood vessel. So what happened is that we found out that the gap in this blood vessels is actually between it's less than 1 micron. Sometimes it's usually between 80 to 500 nanometers. So when this happened, now, if you imagine you give a drug to a person, and whether it's a normal cell or a cancer cell, the drug does not have eyes, right? So because it's so small, it diffuses out of the normal bloodstream as well as the cancer around the cancer cell. So when this happens, you don't have specificity. It kills normal cells, it kills the cancer cell. What happened when you put a drug in a nanoparticle that's about 100 nanometer? Now, the drug now, it's too big to diffuse through the normal blood vessel, and it still can penetrate into the tumor site because of the gap, right? So now we have the enhanced permeation and retention effect. So this is why we have more drugs that can localize into the tumor. This is called the EPR effect. So this is why we can use nano in cancer therapy. So if you imagine, like this is a person and somebody has a tumor here, what happens if you give chemotherapy to this person? The drug will diffuse through the body because the drug does not have eyes, right? So if we put the drug into the nanoparticle, what we expect is that it can be localized into the tumor, therefore reducing the side effects. So it is that simple. But is this that simple? We'll see. So through the years, we have known that there's a lot of nanoparticle that has been used, and you can read about this in a lot of reviews, and we learned that nanoparticle works sometimes, and most of the time it doesn't. And why, I will tell you soon. Because previously we thought that solid tumor is just endless proliferation of cells. Is it correct? Partially it's correct, but it's not all the story. Now we know that in one tumor, it's so complicated. There's a lot of different cells, there are stromas, the IFP is high, and then there's high ROS, and all this contribute to a tumor or a small microenvironment by itself that is self-sustained, and at the same time, it will do everything to survive. So how do we actually handle this problem? So as I say, the tumor environment is very complex. So you can see that if this is the tumor, the blood vessel is abnormal, the stroma, there's a lot of fiber here, it makes it stiff, it makes the drug very hard to penetrate, and then the pressure here is high, drug actually cannot go into the tumor, and then the lymphatic is actually, the lymph node here is damaged. So the blood flow and the nutrient flow is actually not good. The drug, it cannot get into here. So how can we use nano to solve all these problems? So if you see 1, 2, 3, 4 here is what I'm going to bring you through. So from step 1 to step 4, what did I do in our lab to solve this problem? So let's see. For number 1, tumor actually has some overexpressed receptors. So for example, if you see on the right side of the screen, HER2, folate receptor, and PSMA, all these are overexpressed receptors. What does it mean? In normal cells, you don't see high numbers of these receptors. Only in cancer cells, you have a lot of HER2. For example, HER2 overexpressed breast cancer. Okay, so when this happens, what you can do is that you can develop antibody or a targeting ligand peptide that targets specifically to these receptors and make them bind to these cancer cells at a higher rate. So what we did, this is my work in Korea, we found out that this fibronectin is actually extracellular matrix, and this is the cancer cell. Fibronectin EDB, this is an extra domain B that is not expressed in normal adult tissue, but we found out that it's overexpressed in malignant tissue. So our question is, can we use EDB as a new biomarker? It turns out that we can. So if you see, EDB is overexpressed in malignant brain glioblastoma, in multi-drug resistant cells, and also in cancer stem-like cells. Okay, it's highly expressed. So now we found out that EDB is overexpressed. Can we target it? The answer is yes. So my lab in Korea, when I was in a PhD there, so we developed this one. aptamer-like peptide, which we call aptide. So if you look at it closely, it's like a chopstick, right? So it binds to the receptor at a very high rate. So if you inject the aptide into an EDB overexpressed glioblastoma, you see here, even at 1 hour, you can see it start to accumulate to the tumors and it stays there. And what happens if the peptide is not specific? It doesn't go into the tumor, it goes into the lung, it goes to the kidney, it goes to the liver, it just doesn't go to the lung. So which proves that this peptide could be used as a very good targeting agent. So what did I do? I take this peptide, I link it to my liposome, which is my nanoparticle, and I encapsulate either a drug, doxorubicin, or I encapsulate siRNA, or I encapsulate both drug and siRNA. In all cases, you can see it actually reduced the tumor volume by a significant amount. So this is one of the results that is very promising, which we know that targeting nanoparticle is actually working to reduce the tumor burden. So number 2, stroma. So if you look at tumor and all the vicinity, it's actually very hard to penetrate. So let's say if the drug is here, it goes into from the blood vessel, how can it actually reach inside, right? So that's my thinking. And my hypothesis is true when you see that the antibody, which is really big, it does not penetrate at all. But when you have a very small peptide, it penetrates deep into the tumor. So take home message, science matters. So what did I make? Second, then I make ultra small nanoparticles for enhanced penetration. So this is a 12 nanometer lipid nanoparticle, which if I'm not mistaken, I'm the first one to actually develop a lipid-based nanoparticle that is smaller than 20 nanometer. So if you look at liposome, which is 100 nanometer, right? Liposome, it cannot go into the tumor core. See? It just reduces after a while. But this hyper cell permeable micelle, which I call it, it can still be found in the tumor core, which means that it can penetrate deep. And also, if you look at a 20 nanometer nanoparticle here, this is a brain, and this is a brain tumor. And you can see that after treatment with the drug inside, it actually reduces significantly compared to the drug. So this is why we knew that the nanoparticle actually works better than the drug itself. So that's the second one. Now, the third one, I told you just now, right? The tumor microenvironment is actually very, very complicated. So in one tumor, we have, let's say, the increased reactive oxygen species, which is really bad. pH is reduced. Usually in the blood vessels is around 7.4, right? In tumor, it's actually 6.7 to 6.9. The glutathione is increased and the enzymes are increased. So how can we use all this to our benefit? So first of all, I developed an ROS responsive polymeric nanoparticle. So this nanoparticle is stable in when there's low ROS. But when it gets into the tumor, inside the tumor cell, ROS is increased. And when ROS is increased, it actually cleaves the nanoparticle. And now you have an active drug, which can then kill the cell. So what is special about this is that when they are just going through the blood vessel, they are stable. They do not release this drug. So which means we reduce the side effects. We reduce the toxicity of these drugs in the bloodstreams. But when they get to the cell, they specifically kill the cell. So this is the highlight of this work. The second one, which is still unpublished. Okay, so this is, I think we're going to publish this year. So what happened is that, remember when I said the nanoparticle is too big, it actually doesn't go inside, and the peptide is small enough, it can go in, right? So how do we combine these two so that when it goes in the blood circulation, the nanoparticle is stable, and then when they go in to the tumor and the pH is, when the pH is reduced, this nanoparticle will break because this nanoparticle is pH responsive. Okay, when it breaks, it releases the very small peptide and drug. And now this peptide is small enough to penetrate deep inside the tumor, binds into the targeting ligand, binds to the receptor, and then being uptake into the cells and kill it, right? So does it work? So if you look at this this mouse here, this is just peptide and drug conjugate, and this is control. You cannot get very good effect. And if you put just nanoparticle and drug, it does have some effect. And this is the commercially available antibody drug conjugate. This is okay. But when you combine these two together, and suddenly you get a very good synergistic effect. So this is a case of you just combine two known methods, and it's so simple that I don't think people will believe that this will work, but it does work. So you combine two things that have the advantage of one, you put in together, and 1 + 1, it's higher than 2. So this is one other work that I have actually done. So to summarize that, what have I done during my work time here? I developed this is actually lipid-based nanoparticle. Okay, so I developed a liposome, I developed targeted liposomes, I developed micelles and ultra small micelles. And I don't have time to talk about this, but this is actually a topical, you can use this as a topical ointment for psoriasis, for melanoma, because we encapsulate drug inside this discoid. It's kind of like a donut. So we use this for transdermal therapy, and it actually works against psoriasis. So this is kind of a little bit summary of my work. And also I've started to synthesize TME responsive polymer nanovehicles. So this is ROS responsive nanoparticle, this is redox responsive, and this is pH responsive. I don't have time to talk about this, but if you are interested, you can read on the papers. There's a lot of papers, and also my paper that is published on this. And so the last point, number 4, is what I'm currently doing right now. So angiogenesis. What is angiogenesis? It's a way for the cells to make new blood vessels. Why? They need food, they need nutrient, they need oxygen, right? So angiogenesis is the first step of metastasis. So can we actually use nanoparticle to stop this and to starve the cancer to death? Now, there are a lot of anti-angiogenic therapy that is in the clinic right now. But the thing is that it is insufficient with single use, and usually they have long-term response, like long-term toxicity, so which is not really good. So what happened is that I recently found out there is this lipid in our body that is actually by itself and self-anti-angiogenic. So this lipid, what I did was I tried to make it into a liposome, and I succeeded. So we found out that this nanoparticle, if you see, it is very well, it's very homogenized, and it actually has anti-angiogenic activity. So this is blood vessel, this is HUVEC cells, and you see after treatment of the nanoparticles, it actually reduced the anti-angiogenic activity, so which is good. And it actually, look here, it actually goes into the tumor at a very high rate. So we think that back to nature, as I actually talked to Pak Gary just now, back to nature, we need to go back to nature and find all this, what is in our body, what is available in the nature, and make it into a carrier, a drug, because nanocarrier nowadays, they are just a synthetic thing, right? So if the drug itself is therapeutic, then we solve a lot of problems. We can actually, what I wrote here, we can actually encapsulate drugs, we can encapsulate biologics like siRNA, mRNA, and all the stuff. We can target it and do a lot of stuff with this. So to the students, that what my advice to you is to think out of the box, to really look into different perspectives, that you may actually integrate a lot of ideas into your research. So this is my advice to you. So as the executive editor of Biointegration, so I would like to tell you something about my journal. So please read our papers, cite our papers, and we are trying to get into SCI this year. So if you want to follow us, there's a Twitter, there is Facebook, and there is LinkedIn. And so with that, I want to thank all my collaborators. And this is actually my first Teachers Day, and this is my students. And yeah, some of the students are actually older than me, but they're not in this picture. So yeah, I'm very thankful for them. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for Inscobiol for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw, and congratulations for your successful presence in this conference. Actually, your presentation was a light of hope for all of us, curious to know how we can effectively target and cure different types of cancer using naturally available compounds. We are really grateful, Dr. Shaw, that you took your time to be with us today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We will take step forward to listen to our next speaker. The personality I'm going to announce, I have a commonality with him, as we share the same motherland, Pakistan. I mean, Dr. Azhar Rasool. Dr. Azhar Rasool is assistant professor and head of Cell and Molecular Biology Lab at Department of Zoology, Government College University, Faisalabad, Pakistan. Dr. Rasool earned his degree of Master of Science and Master of Philosophy from Bahauddin Zakaria University, Pakistan, and PhD in Biology, majoring Chemical Cancer Biology from Northeast Normal University, China. Dr. Rasool holds 3 postdocs from Japanese Society for Promotion of Science, Tokyo Biochemical Research Foundation, and China. Dr. Rasool has published 17 peer-reviewed articles, 117 peer-reviewed articles, and 1 book chapters with cumulative impact factor over 260. He is the winner of HEC Pak Turk Mobility Grant, ISESCO Research Grant, HEC NRPU Research Grant, Nagai Foundation Tokyo Research Grant, and Comstek Research Grant. Dr. Rasool has founded his own lab, which is actively engaged in interdisciplinary research on novel tumor biomarkers, cancer-related health disparities, and identification of non-toxic anti-cancer compounds. And also, he is reviewer and editorial board member of several well-reputed journals. And today with us, Dr. Azhar Rasool will be discussing about ME2 as novel and selective drug target for cancer therapy. Most welcome, so Dr. Azhar Rasool. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you so much, Nadia, for introducing me, and it's really a pleasure to be here and to share my research works. And I also thanks to all the organizers for organizing a very wonderful event. Today I am going to talk about tumor metabolism. Yes, I hope you can see the slides. Tumor metabolism, novel and selective target for cancer therapy. In other terms, what we can say that to kill the cancer by taking away their favorite foods. And firstly, as I have listened, of course, I would appreciate the talk of Professor Shah. She is presenting a very wonderful talk about cancer. And she also helped me in the aspect because she introducing somehow the figures about cancer. And of course, surely cancer is one of the threatening disease worldwide and second leading cause of the death. So therefore, and most of us are very much familiar about cancer. So therefore, I'm not going to review in the cancer, especially in terms of statistics. These slides showing ongoing research projects in my lab, funding by different agencies. Like tumor metabolism modulators, cell-based screening and target ID identification, tumor stromal interaction modulator, cancer stem cell inhibitors, and some in vivo combinatorial studies. But my today's talk will be only focused majorly on the tumor metabolism modulators. Of course, I'm not going to talk in detail but I will give you the few snapshots what we have done so far in this field. So first, of course, the people are working in different areas. Some are focusing on transcription factors, some are focusing on the oncogenes, and some are the other, of course, targets. Like some are, like Professor Shah was mentioning, some are focusing, of course, on the angiogenesis and so on. So first question is, why tumor metabolism? Whether is a renewed hope or a false promise. So first, let's hope how tumor metabolism play a role in cancer progression. So if you look for that, and as I heard in the introductory section, in introductory sessions, that there are the many different fields people, and especially these figures you must be familiar in your interclass, and more importantly in your biochemistry subject. So if you look for here, how this is all showing a tumor metabolic pathways. So if you're majorly, we are familiar with 4 to 5 major pathways, but actually more than 20 pathways has been reported, like including glycolysis, including PPP, pentose phosphate pathway, serine pathway, that is also called serine biosynthetic pathway, SBP, and also TCA cycle. So how these pathways are helping the cancer cells? As we already know that cancer is surely very smart, and they hire these different kind of enzymes for their purpose. And the most dangerous thing about cancer, of course, is highly heterogeneous. And the second, the same type of cancers, like breast cancers, and we have two patients, patient A and patient B. The reasons are totally different, and maybe the enzymes which are having a role in proliferation and having a role in providing the energy to those cells, they might be the different. So firstly, how the metabolism is ensuring these things is assure the supply of building block for the cell proliferation. For example, of course, cancer started with a single cell mutation, but how it's enlarged the cells, where the energy is coming, where the building block is coming, that is a metabolism. And then another interesting question is that if we have a tumor in particular place, then how it spread to the other part and how it create the spaces. So spaces also created by starving the neighbor cells with these metabolic enzymes. They are also stress the immune system. They have an NDPH production, reduction of glutathione, and of course reduce the RAS by the mitochondria. And these are all the factors that collectively supporting by the metabolism and have a role in the cancer progression. And if you look for here, if we just take the one example, the glycolysis, and we know that there is a conversion of glucose into the pyruvate, but with the help of 10 sequential and enzymatic reaction. But actually, if you go little deeper in these enzymes, they are 28 in number. Each enzyme have a further isoforms. If you look for here, there's an enzyme PK, pyruvate kinase. Actually, it has a 4 isoforms, PKM1, PKM2, PKR, and PKL. And especially the PKM2 has an important role in cancer progression. Similarly, what I'm going to talk specifically today, there is another enzyme that converts the malate into pyruvate, and that is called ME. ME actually raising for malic enzyme. And that enzyme also have a 3 isoforms, malic enzyme 1, malic enzyme 2, and malic enzyme 3. And particularly again, the malic enzyme 2 has one of the important roles in cancer progression. Of course, I can't summarize in these limited time all of these enzymes. So I'm mostly going to focus only on this, one of our project related to the malic enzyme. So the next question is why the malic enzyme? Why we are focusing on particularly malic enzyme 2? So as you look for here, this is a review of literature, and we also published this one in IUBMB Life in the last in 2018. So this enzyme is overexpressing in number of the cancers, like in the lung cancer, prostate cancer, colorectal, and you can see there are also other cancers. But the issue is that if this is overexpressing, and what we believe is we reduce the expression of this enzyme and maybe inhibit this enzyme activity, might be we can control only those cancer where it is overexpressing. But there's no potent and selective inhibitor. So we started the project and to find the inhibitor against that enzyme. There are only few, 1 and 2 inhibitors are reported, but still we need to find a selective and potent inhibitor against this enzyme. So this slide actually showing how my lab actually working with the different enzymes. Of course, we are not focusing on the single enzymes, but actually we are focusing on the different enzymes of the metabolism. And we started, of course, with the molecular cloning. We, of course, do the expression construct and then protein expression purification. Actually, why we are purifying the protein by ourselves? The reason is we are using one screening system that is a chemical array. So we have some kind of restrictions of the detergents. That's why we have to purify the protein by ourselves to avoid the detergents which are usually using by the commercial proteins purification. And then we have a secondary screening system. We are also using a natural product, and we have other natural product fraction libraries. And we do another technique, that is a SATSA. Then we perform the biological activities because our target is the cancer. So we do, of course, cytotoxic assays and bone annealing assays, flux analysis, and go on up to the metabolism. This is how we are working, but of course, I'm not going in detail. If you're interested, we have published one of the paper, and you can go through with this one. This is also with the collaboration, one of the USA lab. So you can see the further detail in this article. So how we are actually moving with these projects. So firstly, we have a screening strategies. We have a primary screening. We are using a chemical array patch screening, and of course, we are using a in silico screening. And in those by molecular tracking and by synthetic compound library. And then we have also another system that is a natural. We have an enzymatic assay-based screening systems. For that purpose, we are using a natural product extract libraries and also fruit-based biomass extract libraries. And those hits we are getting from the primary screening, from the synthetic compound libraries, and from the molecular docking. Of course, we reconfound by these enzymatic assays. So this is our general approach which we are using for this purpose. So here is just overlap how we are working and how we are preparing the herbal extracts. Of course, again, I'm not going into the detail, but now we have more than 50 herbs and plant extracts, and we go for different processes, and we fractionize with the help of HPLC, and we believe every fraction. We have a 40,000 fractions so far, and by using a rough estimate, we believe we have a 500 lakhs compound in these estimated library. So even in this book chapter, I have the detail of this systems, how we are making this kind of library. So next, what we have here, I have slightly overview. You can see the number of paper from this technique. By using this technique, they have found the inhibitor of the various proteins. So this is a chemical array. This is actually I'm working in collaboration with Riken in Japan. So this is their system. They established very well established system. And by using this system, you can screen any protein of your interest. If you are interested in any protein, you can contact with them, and of course, they will help you with the screening. They have even the commercial basis screening. If you pay them, and they will screen your interest of protein. But of course, we are a collaborator, and I was a postdoc for 6 years in that lab. So we are still collaborating by using this chemical array system. So I just here the snapshots, and particularly, of course, different enzymes, as you can see here, PKM2, Me2, 6-PGD, and so on. And so my different students are working on one enzyme targets. And as you can see here, this is here working on one enzyme, and this is another student, she's working on the malic enzyme 2. That's my topic for today. And this is another student, she's working on 6-phosphoglucanase, another enzyme of the pentose phosphate pathway. So of course, specifically, I will share the few snapshots of my work related to malic enzyme 2. So if you look for here, for the malic enzyme, we started the screening of about 30,000 compounds. And out of these 30,000 compounds, we find 196 sets initial screening. And then we confirm these screening compounds by using this simple enzymatic assay-based system. As you can see, we have a substrate and we have a coenzyme. And by using our own purified recombinant protein, and then we measure directly the level of NADPH, and then we find two potent candidates out of these 196 sets. And we given the name as the code 8798 and 5734. And then even as you can see their enzymatic activity at different concentration. And then we chosen the one of the potent compound, and we even conducted the organic chemist to find out the more interesting analog and perform the SAR analysis. And they synthesized further from like NPD 8798. This and the 6 hits more potent even than the parents one. And then we validated these hits by using one of the methods that is called the SETSA, cellular thermal shift assay. How it works, if you can see here, it's a very interesting and a simple approach. And I believe on the simple science actually. So if you look for here, what we did in this case, especially for the students, if you have some kind of data, you can, of course, validate your if you have a kind of inhibitors by using this technique. This is of course not my developed technique. This is published in Nature in 2014. This method of technique. So what they do, and we are following their protocols. What we did, we using our of course vehicles like DMSO in that case, and then we use our ligand like NPD8716 and so on. And if you look for here, for example, and we treated at different temperatures like 45 degrees Celsius to 70 degrees Celsius. So in this temperature, if you look for here, in the course, but in the presence of ligand, they can become stabilized. So what it gives us, it only giving us if your ligand is really binding with that particular protein, it means that protein becomes stabilized. It indicated that only this notion, it giving only this information, our ligand, or maybe if you are doing the same experiment, your ligand is going to bind with that protein, but is only giving the one of the confirmation our ligand is surely binding with that particular protein because that protein is stabilized. But of course, where it is binding, which residue is it binding, which pocket is binding, still need to be investigated. But as I mentioned earlier, this enzyme has a role in cancer progression. So of course, we test the role of these inhibitors on the cancer cell proliferation. And we use simple method like what we call it as MTT assay. And in that case, as you can see here, but we use both ways. In the presence of glucose, in the so we use both approaches. In the of course the glucose and without glucose. But unfortunately, our compound was not potent, and our compound was not having a cytotoxic effect up to 300 macromolar. So as you can see, that was we not found the cytotoxic. But one of the compound we found cytotoxic, but again the IC50 was not so impressive. So it means that compound was also not so potent. So it means that was our hope. We were hopeless. Our targets was failed. What we are finding out. But then luckily we were having another project. That was about the tumor stromal cell interaction modulator. I just give the brief introduction what we have in this project, and then we will correlate with our previous project. In this assay systems, what we have done, we have a fibroblast cells and fibroblasts and cancer cells and cancer cells. And what I believe, what even the Professor Shah was saying, okay, let's suppose you have a tumor in one particular place. Let's suppose you have a tumor in the breast, but how that tumor, how that cancer migrate to the other part of the body, how it migrate to the brain, how it migrate to the maybe bones, and how it migrate to the lungs. But this is a still unanswerable question. Of course, you will answer, you will get the Nobel Prize surely, but still is a question for you guys. Okay, how the particular cancer move to the different particular organ, that need to be investigated. We have some clues and some basic information, but not exactly yet now is pointed out why it is doing. But in that phenomenon, what the information so far we have, there is a one common observation, and again is a very simple science, is that if that cell is moving from breast to the other part of the body, there is some assistance from the local cells. There is some assistance from the normal cells that we call them as a fibroblast. So that's a simple example for the students to understand, to the students particularly, because we have a number of students here. So with this is a simple example, if any spy of your enemy country enter in your country, and the spy can't do any activity unless the local person could not support him or her. Of course, he can't do any bad activity in your country. Similarly, what we believe now, the cancer cells, cancer is a spy, and if they want to move to the other part of the body, of course, the fibroblast cells helping them, and with the help of those, they move. But for that system, we took the simple phenomenon, as you can see here. We culture the lone fibroblast, and we culture the single leaf cancer cells, and then in co-culture model. And when we co-culture model, they even move very faster and do very simple technique, just a scratch assay. And but now the question was that whether this fastening of healing of a gap is because of cancer cell or because of fibroblast cells. So when we just do the simply tagging of cancer cell with the GFP, and we found that the gap was not filling by the green fluorescent cells, that was a cancer cell, but that was filling with the fibroblast cells. And that fibroblast cells, which are now helping the cancer cell, they are not fibroblasts. Now they are called as a cancer associated fibroblast, and simply we call them as a COP cells. After having this system, we believe that the compound which slow down the migration of fibroblasts when co-culture with the cancer, but not in the fibroblasts alone. And that could be our target hits. We are also screening other natural compounds. We are screening the other libraries for this purpose. But along with that, our known inhibitors as malic enzyme have a not only role in cancer progression, but that enzyme has also role in cancer metastasis. So we just think out that might be our compound has a role in anti-metastasis. So by having this system, we have a fibroblast cells and we have a fibroblast and cancer cells, and our compound that was a non-cytotoxic at 300 macromolar, that compound, that AMI2 inhibitor, significantly slowed down the cancer cell-induced migration of fibroblast cells at 15 macromolar in co-culture, while it has no effect on the migration of monoculture fibroblasts or even cancer cells. But the mechanism of AMI2 inhibitors and crystal actually still in the progress. How actually they are rolling, and even only this target or even might be another target. This is we are still fine. Of course, we are trying to figure out these kind of the data. But we have another data in the literature. If you look for here, there's another problem even with the cancer. If you look for here in this paper, what they did, they using clinical drugs, and they treated the cancer. As you can see here, they introduced the tumor in the mice, and then they treated with the Taxol, this clinical known drugs. And after having a treatment, you can see the result. This bar is showing the tumor has gone. But there is another interesting phenomenon which we have found. If you look for here in this paper, if you have the give them the little bit, you stop giving the medicine, and what happening? The cancer is coming again, and that is again another challenging for cancer. The cancer relapse. This after some time the cancer come back, maybe after several years or somehow. So what we are planning, what our future plan? We want to give the combination of chemotherapy and medical inhibitor, our metabolic inhibitor as a potential to cure the cancer. Because what we believe, these are the non-cytotoxic, as I mentioned earlier. And even after the surgery, what we believe, if we give them after surgery and if we give them the after chemotherapy, maybe we can slow down the. Of course, I can't claim the tumor will never come back. Maybe will come back, but at least we can slow down from 5 years to 10 years or 15 years. But still, these studies we are trying to figure out. Another phenomenon that we are planning in future, we want to test our inhibitors on the xenograft model to go more near to the clinical studies and to make the convince to the clinical and make to convince the people to take these samples. So what we are planning, we want to have the patient-derived xenograph model. What they do in this model, this is again not new one, but the people are also to make the drugs more near to the clinicals. They're focusing on this kind of model. What they do in this model, they get the directly sample from the patient, cancer patient, and they introduce in the mice, and that is called the PDX, patient-derived xenograft model. And then we are planning to check this one. And these are all the parameters which we are going to test it one by one for our inhibitors. So this is just few snapshots, and similar studies we are conducting with other enzymes. I just give the one of the case study of the malic enzyme. Similarly, we are focusing on the PKM2, we are focusing on the ALDO-A, we are focusing on the 6-PGD, PHGDH. So if I go for conclusions, what we have done so far, so we have a novel integrated screening platform for the discovery of potent and selective inhibitors. Because why we have? Because we can check them even whether this particular inhibitor is only inhibiting because we have a number of enzymatic acids. So even we can check them their selectivity with other enzymes as well. For example, because mostly enzymes, they are, of course, somehow they have a very much similarity to the other enzymes. Like malic enzymes 1, 2, 3, they of course have a similarities. So whether they are particularly inhibiting that particular ME2 or whether they have a role in ME1 and ME2. So for that purpose, we have 10 targets have been cloned, and like as you can see here, and we have their assay systems. And if anyone have their compounds, if you are interested and you want to collaborate with us, and if you are interested to check your like a plant extracts, if you have some synthetic compounds, or if you have some nanoparticles, and if you are interested, maybe we can do the screening against these enzymes for you. And then what we have done, and the next one, identification and characterization of novel, potent, and selective ME2 inhibitors. And why we are so hopeful that this study could be the interesting in the future. This study will provide potent and selective modulator for tumor metabolism, target protein to unlock the secrets of how metabolic enzyme works, exploring the therapeutic use of safe and inexpensive drugs for cancer, with various oncogenic mutations. And actually, one of the reason for hope for us, as a phase 1 clinical trial showed IDH mutant inhibitor that was discovered, one of the famous pharmaceutical company, Agios, has a safety profile, and I hope our result may be similar to this pharmaceutical company, will also be successfully translated to the human tumor in future. Might be, of course, I'm not going to have your promise, but what we are trying might be these inhibitors with a certain modifications, we will be able to do that. So what we believe, to achieve the impossible is to believe the possible. So similarly, this is my lab, what we have here from a Chinese lab. He is my boss is here, professor, my PhD mentor. This is my postdoc mentor from the RICAN. And of course, this is my lab in the GCUF and my group. And of course, these are the different funders which are sponsoring us for the activity of finding the inhibitors of various enzymes. Of course, we have the local funders, as well as we have some international grants from the different agencies. Recently, we have got one of the for our project from the International Fund for Science and for Cisco, of course, and these are the number of agencies as you can see here. And what I believe science, we should have to interact and communicate just like a cell signaling. So as you can see here, I have a number of collaborating along the different countries from like, of course, in China, USA, in Malaysia. But and of course, unfortunately, before that, I have no one in the Indonesia actually. But I hope you have a rich resources, particularly in, and hopefully after having this kind of discussion. And of course, I appreciate and I thanks to the organizers to having me here. So that will be not only our one introductory talk here. I'm hoping that we are going to open a new avenues for our future endeavors. And like I, of course, I appreciate Ms. Nadia as well to inviting me here, particularly introducing me to this group. And I'm very pleased to be here, and also even Professor Shah, all the other member of Erlanga University. And that was really a great experience for me. And I also going to have other lectures as well. Thank you for your attention. So of course, there is the Chinese and arigato gozaimasu from the Japanese. So thank you all. That's all for today. I hope if you have any questions, most welcome. Thank you. And of course, if you have any queries, you can write me directly, or maybe you can send the text message. So I will be here for the question and answer sessions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such helpful and interesting guide. As you said, to kill cancer by taking their favorite food and using cancer therapies without side effects to the normal cell, using metabolic pathways and chemical arrays and target protein-based screening. We can surely take insight from it. And for questions, we will be open for questions after the next presentation, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeshul. And we will move to our next and last member of this keynote speaker session, my own teacher from Universitas Airlangga, Dr. Armando Graldi. Dr. Armando Graldi is serving as Assistant Professor at Department of Biology, Universitas Airlangga, Indonesia. He received his bachelor degree in microbiology from Institute of Technology, Bandung, Indonesia, and PhD in biological sciences from Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. From 2015 to 2021, he published 12 articles in international journals, 1 book chapter, and 1 US patent. Dr. Galdi is member of Indonesian COVID-19 Research and Innovation Consortium, and he is recipient of 3 Indonesian COVID-19 Research and Innovation Research grants and reviewer of several Scopus Index journals. And currently he is following postdoc at Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology Institute of Biocentury. And today with us, Dr. Graldi will share insights about unraveling bacterial community structure in unique ecosystem in Indonesia. Most welcome, Sir Dr. Armando Graldi. The floor is yours, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nadia, for the kind introduction. I was very honored to be one of the keynote speaker in Inscobiol. So thank you for inviting me. And I'm glad to meet Payer again, Professor Sao. It's been a long time. We met in KAIS. She joined KAIS after me, but she finished his study before me. So yeah, she was brilliant from the beginning. So it's no wonder about her wonderful presentation. And I'm also happy to meet Dr. Rasul in here. So in here, my presentation actually is simple. It's not as sophisticated and or as detailed as Professor Sao and Dr. Rasul presentation. Is, how can I say? It's more like a story. Since this is a student conference, and I see that the most of the participants are master student or even undergraduate student. I hope this story can like, how can I say, not inspire you, but to show you like my story about starting the career in here as academia with all of its limitations, and how you can still publish and have a research group, something like that, in Indonesia especially. So as introduced by Nadia, I'm a lecturer in the biology department, and I do my research on the microbiology lab in Faculty of Science and Technology, Universitas Erlangga. And I'm also the researcher in University Center of Excellence, Research Center for Biomolecular Engineering, or BIOME, Universitas Erlangga. So let me first introduce my research center actually. So this is one of the youngest or the newest research center in Universitas Erlangga. If I'm not mistaken, it started in 2019, and we got the status of we were granted the status as University Center of Excellence, or the Pusat Unggulan Iptek Perguruan Tinggi from Indonesian government on last year. So in here, the head of the research center is our vice rector of research, innovation, and community development, Prof. Nyoman. You met her before. And then in here we have 4 research groups: the proteomic, head by Dr. Ali Rohman, and exploration of synthesis of bioactive compound. So exploration of the natural compounds in here. Maybe Dr. Rasul and Prof. Sao interested in here. And I join in here under Dr. Matuzaro in the applied microbiology and bioresource technology research group. And the last one is bioinformatics, head by Dr. Imam Siswanto. So in the research group of the applied microbiology and bioresource technology, we mainly do this kind of research. So we study the microbial community structure from various ecosystems, mangrove, the soil, and the endophytic bacteria inside the mangrove plant, and also the oil contaminated environment, soil or water or seawater. And then we also explore the endophytic bacteria from various plants and extreme and unique ecosystem. This is my interest, which I will share with you some of the results that I get. And then we also do the bioprospecting of potential microorganisms from those environments, like the microbes that can produce the industrial enzyme, or the one that can be the component of biofertilizer, such the nitrogen fixing, phosphate solubilizing, and plant hormone producing bacteria, and then the biosurfactant producing. Okay, we also do the fermentation of those products, and also we manage the culture collection, microbial culture collection of Universitas Airlangga. Okay, so this is some ecosystem that I explore the microbes on. The one is first is hot spring that I will share with you today, And we also do the exploration of the endophytic bacteria and rhizospheric bacteria of endemic plant, the endemic ginger from Balikpapan, is Kalimantan in Borneo Island. I think that's the Dr. Sao homeland, the Borneo Island. And then the sendun in Parangkusumo, Yogyakarta is a unique environment because usually it's only found in desert or the subtropical area, but this is, I think, the only one of this kind in Southeast Asia or even in the tropical area. So I'm interested in this kind of unique ecosystem. So actually, and by exploring this kind of ecosystem, you can do a lot of sampling and traveling. That's like some refreshment by not just doing experiment in the lab. So in here, just why I'm interested in the hot spring ecosystem. As for you, Indonesian know that Indonesia is in the Pacific Ring of Fire. It's rich of the volcano and the geothermal site. So we have around like more than 250 hot spring across the archipelago. And the hot spring is the main source of one of thermophilic microorganism, which can produce the thermostable enzyme and other metabolites such as the biosurfactant or biopolymer, even antibiotics, which are required in the industrial process and of the great economic interest. And the one that I explore, actually, I did not plan to explore this hot spring just because there is one student activity. It's like a field trip, and they asked me to be their supervisor. And at the time, I just joined Universitas Airlangga. I didn't have any research grant. I didn't have any money to do research. But then I see, this hot spring, I think it's interesting. Then I just plan to explore the microbiome of this hot spring at the time. So it's not very far from Surabaya. It's in Batu. So it's the one of the most explored hot spring in Indonesia, especially on the microbiology field. Some bacterial isolate with industrial potency have been isolated from Jangar hot spring. So it's not very hot. The maximum temperature is only 53, something like that, and it's somewhat the pH is somewhat neutral. And yeah, our sampling site is in that range of temperature and pH. And in here, we do the two strategy to explore the microbiome of the hot spring. We do the culture dependent method. So we just sampling the sediment and water and grow it in the media. So we see what bacteria we can get in that place. And the second one, we use the culture independent characterization. So in here, we use the next generation sequencing to see the component of the microbiome in that Jangar hot spring, which surprisingly nobody did that before. I mean, like for the whole hot spring in Indonesia, I think there is still no report about the bacterial community structure study using the NGS. So I will publish the data soon and maybe become one of the first publication in the microbial community structure of hot spring study using NGS. Okay, for the study using the culture dependent method, we got one potential isolate. We name it CGR1. This is from Jangar hot spring. So it was isolated from the sediment of the hot spring. And when we identify the gram-positive bacilli, which can grow up to 60 degrees Celsius, and when we identify using the 16S rRNA gene sequencing, it show very high similarity to Bacillus subtilis subspecies in Aquasorum. And actually, I did this experiment with undergraduate student, like most of the lecturer in Universitas Airlangga. The research team consists of undergraduate student, and in here we reveal the potential of that strain. It can produce the cellulase enzyme in 30 degree and even in the 50 degrees Celsius. So hopefully it's the thermostable enzyme. And also it produces amylase. And also it produces biosurfactant. We screen the activity of those enzyme, and we publish the result with the undergraduate student team that did the field trip with me. And then we also explore more about the biosurfactant activity of that isolate. So it showed the quite good surface tension reduction activity, and it also showed the emulsification activity, although it's not as high as other strains. And then for the culture independent method, we use the next generation sequencing. So in here we isolate the water and sediment from the hot spring, and then we extract the eDNA, and then we do the high throughput amplicon sequencing of the V3, V4 region of the 16S RNA gene. And then we see the community structure of the total microbiome in the sample. So in here for the phylum level, we identify the 28 bacterial phylum in the hot spring, with the surprisingly dominant phyla are the gram-negative bacteria, proteobacteria and bacteroidetes. It's almost 90%, which is uncommon when we compare to the other study. And then for the in the level of the family and genus, the dominance is the Flavobacteriaceae. And then for the genus, the interesting observation is that the dominant genus in the hot spring is in the Changar hot spring is the Cloacibacterium and Methylobacillus. So when we compare to the other previous study on hot spring with the similar physical condition, there is no report about the dominance of these two genus. And especially the Cloacibacterium, it usually found in the wastewater or in the digestive tract. So it might be because the proximity of the Changar hot spring with the human activity, especially in tourism and agriculture. And also this is the dominant species. Some species are identified using the method, and it also surprising that the dominant species is the one that has pathogenic characteristic and relation with the wastewater and the digestive tract of animal and human. So from the exploration, we found that some beneficial genus are dominant in the Changar hot spring, such as the Methylobacillus, which can use the cheap and abundant carbon source. In this case is methanol. So this is a potential platform for the producing recombinant protein, amino acid, and other value-added compounds. And also we found the dominance of Chitinopaga, bacterial genus that known to produce chitinase and all other lignocellulosic material degrading enzyme, and also Hydrogenopaga, which can be used in the bioremediation. As for the dominant species, we found that among the dominant species are Acinetobacter juni, which can produce the biosurfactant of the lipopeptide and glycopeptide type. So this is potential for bioremediation. And also the other dominant species is Pseudomonas alkaligens, which can produce the rhamnolipid biosurfactant and also produce enzyme like lipase and organic acid, and also can be used in the plant pathogen control and bioremediation. As I said before, we also found some opportunistic pathogen from the hot spring. It's mostly like Comamonas, Vagesella, and Ruminococcus, might be due to the proximity with the human activities. So in here we successfully isolate the one strain with industrial potential for producing industrial enzyme and biosurfactant from Sanggar hot spring. And also we revealed the bacterial community structure of Sanggar hot spring with some unique dominance of some genus and family. And we also found some beneficial and pathogenic bacteria using that approach in Sanggar hot spring. So in here, for the future direction, we will see and mass produce the enzyme and biosurfactant to see if they are thermostable. So to see if they are has potency in the industrial application. And also we, since we found some beneficial bacteria that cannot be cultured at the when we do the culture-based research, so we might use the specific media to isolate the beneficial bacteria such as the Pseudomonas alkaligens, Acinetobacter, and the Bacillus. Okay, so in here my team is mostly the undergraduate student, and in here I want to ask you to join us at Biome. We are open for internship, the undergraduate and graduate student. You can join us as intern. And we also open for the research collaboration. Dr. Sau, Dr. Rasul, we can do some research collaboration in the future. And you can see our website in here and contact us via email. And thank you. That's the end of my presentation. I give back to Nadia.
Thank you so much, Dr. Graldi. Indeed, it was something very useful for the conditions we are facing nowadays. As we are stuck in pollution, we are at the verge of environment destruction. I think that technologies you have discussed, by using them, we can change the world of bioindustry and bioremediation, and especially it will be helpful for our environment. Thank you so much. And now moving on, according to our agenda, now we are open for discussion session. Our discussion will run for 20 minutes. All participants, please put in your questions in chat function according to the format which is already provided in the chat section, you can see. And I will repeat here. You can put in your questions by using your name / your institution / the name of the speaker to whom you are asking and / your question. And about questions, I will deliver 3 questions at one time, like 1 question for each respected speaker. And now I will start delivering the questions to our speakers. So the first question is to Professor Dr. Saw.
Yeah, I can see the question. So I just, is it from Sri Puji? The question from
yes.
So her question is, which is effective between liposomes and micelles to carry drugs and to treat or to kill cancer cells? So this question is basically depends on what you want to do. So if you want to solve a problem of low drug loading efficacy, then you use liposome because liposome is bigger, it can encapsulate more drugs. But if your point is to deliver the drugs deep into the tumor core, for example, for pancreatic cancer, they have very dense stroma, right? So the drug does not even get in, liposome does not get in. So in this case, then you have to choose myself because it's smaller. So basically it goes back to your focus, what you want to do and which cancer you want to treat. So I think this is also one of the point where you need to actually go back and read a lot of background of how your cancer is different from others and how can you use that specific point to get your drug across. So that's one. And then the second question is, to treat cancer, there are several materials which effective between RNA-based materials and herbs. So this is different between, what is the difference is one is synthetic and one is natural, right? So the problem with natural based material is that not all of them can be made into nanoparticles. And they are drugs per se. So you need to know the active materials in the herbs in order for you to extract and to synthesize it into nanoparticle. I think this is a very big project if you want to do this. So that's why people still use lipid, still use polymer. It's because it's readily available. So all these are proof of concept. So I think that is better for the materials right now. So I'm not saying that herbs is not good. I'm not saying that because I like natural nanoparticles. I like nature. But the thing is, you need to calculate the cost that is required for you to do this experiment. So that's my answer.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. So, and the next question is also for you, Dr. So.
Okay, so I just read, right? Okay. What are the differences between the use of nanoparticles and dendritic cell therapy? Okay, so this question is two different questions. One is you treat the cancer with chemotherapy. One is with a nanoparticle. The other is actually immuno-based therapy. So this is a very new field. I think it's very hot. So how do you use your own immune system to cure your own cancer? So basically, dendritic cell is that if this person has a cancer, you take out the tumor antigen and then you put it into the dendritic cells, and then you make sure the dendritic cells produce a lot of antigen and then go to the T cell, and then they make the antibody and stuff. And then so this will go back to the patient's own body. So in this case, the merit is that there is no toxicity because it's your own cell, it's your own tumor, so it will kill it. These are two different concepts. Okay, so just you need to weigh the difference between the use of nanoparticles and immunotherapy. That's different. And the third question is there a reaction between nanoparticle and cancer drug? The simple answer is no. But also doxorubicin, it has a very special attribute. It can actually intercalate between the DNAs. So what happened in Professor John's lab in Korea is that they make aptamer, which is made of DNA, and they put the doxorubicin in between this. So aptamer is a targeting ligand, right? So they put the DNA on it into like in between the aptamer. So this become a small nanoparticle by itself. So this, I think this is published in PNAS a few years ago. So the short answer is no, but you can also look at other possibility which you can use the drug and the materials interaction.
If you could see, Dr. Saw, there is another question for you. Or I have
the next question is for Professor Dr. Rasul first.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I will move to you, Dr. Azhar Rasul. The question for you is, what is the mechanism by which plant active ingredients can suppress the expression of malic enzyme? It's from Professor Siripuji Astuti from Universitas Airlangga. Dr. Azhar Rasul. Yeah.
Firstly, we have to look how ME2 actually play a role in cancer progression. So, of course, as I mentioned earlier, one thing we have to clarify here, like if we talk about in terms of malic enzyme, so the one of the important point is that okay, there is a only a fraction of patients, maybe in which maybe they have a breast cancer, but among the breast cancers maybe there is a fraction of the patients in which this enzymes might be overexpressed, and as a result of that enzymes, actually what happening, the cancer is getting the food from by overexpression of this enzymes, and ultimately they are growing in size. So firstly, what I reported in today's talk, that was not a natural ingredients, number one thing, that was a synthetics. We screened the library of synthetic compounds, but whether it is a synthetic or whether it is a natural, it means probably it inhibited the activity of that enzyme, because we were focusing directly. Of course, we are checking the enzymatic activity. We are using a malate as a substrate because, and then ultimately it gives the pyruvate, and that's why. So the firstly, how ingredients, of course, it goes to the enzyme, it inhibits that enzyme activity. But one thing, as I mentioned earlier, this was sure because like my ligand, that was a synthetic ligand. Of course, that was I got sure by Setzer technique. It surely bind with that enzyme because that protein was stabilizing even at 75 degrees Celsius. But how it is, where it is binding with that malic enzyme, between which residues, which particular amino acids, and which, let's suppose, which pocket it is going to bind, that is we are still investigating. And similarly, of course, let's suppose we have lowered down the activity of the malic enzymes. Ultimately, it will have a role to induce other pathways like maybe NADPH production and also the RAS pathways. And ultimately, that will lead to the apoptotic machinery, maybe the mitochondrial pathway like caspases, and ultimately PARP, and then induces the cell death. That is a common mechanism which mostly cancer cell follows. But ingredients and whether the synthetic compound, of course, they will inhibit the enzymatic activity by binding that particular residues and the particular pockets of that enzymes.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your explanation. And the next question is for Dr. Saw again.
So I see the question from Sundari. And the question is, what is the result of developing nanomaterial using advanced drug delivery system model for healthcare? And the study can also be applied to other diseases or specifically cancer disease-based liposome. So basically, most of my talk today is based on cancer. The reason why that for the reason I've told you before, because cancer, they actually have a very special blood vessel which is leaky. So in this case, nanoparticles can actually be retained very specifically in the cancer vicinity. So that's one. But what specific cancer? It depends on if you want to use different targeting ligand, which I mentioned just now. So for example, if you found out using sequencing or using or you read other literatures and you found out that let's say this cancer has very high HER2 expression. So in this case, then you can specifically use a targeting ligand that is specific to HER2, and then you attach it to your nanoparticle, and inside your nanoparticle, whether you want to encapsulate drug or siRNA, mRNA, or protein, it's up to you. But this nanoparticle system will then be very specific to HER2 overexpressed cancer. So that's my question. Can it be applied to other diseases? There are nanoparticles that are being used in anesthesia right now because nanoparticle can prolong the drug half-life. So let's say if a drug is too small, right, it can be out of your system within five seconds or even 1 minute. So when you put in a nanoparticle, it circulate in your blood system for a very long time. So this is actually very advantageous for anesthesia, where you need like prolonged circulation. So that's one point. But the other point is that the nanoparticle cannot get into the organs without the EPR effect, without the hole, the punctured blood vessel. So if you want to treat diseases with intact blood vessels, then you need to rethink nanoparticle, it might not be the best case.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Saw. And next question is for Dr. Almado Gradi.
Okay, I will read that. From Kurniasari, Unair. What is the advantage of NGS? And if it's we use NGS to map the bacterial community, we still can get the live culture of bacteria. Yes, you're right. We cannot isolate anything using the NGS, but NGS can detect even the bacteria or the microbes with the small quantity in the sample, which are somewhat impossible to be culture of or isolated using the culture-based bacteria. So if you want to isolate the bacteria that you see in the NGS result, you have to use some kind of like the more specific strategy. For example, in my case, I didn't get the Pseudomonas alkaligenes, but actually that's one of the dominant species in the hot spring. So in my next sampling, I need to use maybe the media specific for the Pseudomonas to catch that isolate. Or for example, like the Chitinopaga, it's quite more dominant, but I didn't isolate it. Maybe I need to use the more specific media for that genus or that species next time to successfully catch that, to get the culture of that bacteria. Okay, that's from me. Okay, Nadia.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Graldi. And until now, I think there is no question for Dr. Rasul. So I will again ask to Dr. Saw. There is question for you from Nabila from Universitas Airlangga.
So the question is, how is the progress and prospect of nanoparticle in commercial? So if you read current reviews on the nanoparticle treatment on cancer, you can see it's a multi-billion market. So even, I'm not sure in Indonesia, but in China, in US, right now, I think 50% of the chemotherapeutic market now is dominated by nanoparticle. And we still have hundreds of nanoparticle drugs in the pipeline, but the trend is shifting. So we used to say that it's only to encapsulate drugs, but nowadays it's more to encapsulate biologics. So for example, siRNA, mRNA, all these are being put into the spotlight. So if you want to start nanoparticle research, I suggest you look into the tumor microenvironment. How can we target these cells and not just the cancer cells? So keep in mind that cancer is a very unique ecosystem, right? They have a lot of different cells. How can you target all these cells as they are not just bystander? They are really, they are having a very big effect on the tumor microenvironment. So how can you target these cells at the same time to kill them and also to kill the cancer cells? So that's one question for the students if you want to go into this field.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Saw, for your explanation. Now I will deliver a question for Dr. Rasul. So it's a question from Dr. Saw, I think. And the question is, sir, you're getting me? I'm reading question for you. Let's suppose we are targeting pH level in cancer that around 6.7 to 6.9, but some cells like gastric have low pH too. How we can make drug delivery specific?
Wait, I think this is
my
a question. I think this is his question for me.
Yeah, it's from Dr. Saw.
Yes. So
No, it's
maybe
from
I
him.
put the
Okay,
wrong,
okay.
but this is,
Yeah, it's your question to me, right? So I will answer this question too. So right now, if you look at the trend of nanoparticle, very few of them are actually orally available. That is because the pH of the stomach is around 2 to 3. So before they get to the pH 6.7 in the intestine, they're actually gone. So the only, not the only, but one of the nanoparticles that you can use is actually chitosan based. nanoparticle that is stable in the gastric, but the others are still working on that. But yeah, that's why it's hard for nanoparticles to be orally taken. So that's my answer, Dr.
Thank you. There are some issues. And we're also focusing on the ROS to targeting the ROS difference between the normal and cancer cells.
Yeah,
Of course,
that's
the
being
ROS,
done.
of course, there is a difference in the ROS and also, but the ROS
Yes.
is also same, maybe some same drawbacks. Similarly, the pH, because
Right.
certain cells, maybe they have a, and maybe highly proliferating cells, maybe they have a higher level of ROS as compared to the other cells. So again, the same issue like a pH may be there.
Right,
Because
right.
more
So that,
higher proliferating cells,
right.
they have a high level of ROS, of course.
Right. So Dr. Rasul made out a very good point. So as students out there, you can also think about the differences, not just the targeting ligand, but also differences in the cell. For example, the RAS mutation, P53 mutation, all this. How can you target them? How can you normalize them? And how can you make it not cancerous in this sense? So there are many groups working on RAS, the KRAS mutation, NRAF, BRAF, and all that. It's the same pathway. So, but my lab is not focusing on that. We're more focusing on the application side. So we do see a lot of breakthrough in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you, Dr. Saul, for your answer. Now I will go to Dr. Almando Graldi. The next question is for you, sir.
Okay.
I will read the question, or you can get it.
Okay, I can get it. Actually, it's from Umi Beda. How can you know if the enzyme from the isolate from the hot spring is stable? Okay. In here, I assume that it's the thermostable. So based on our screening result, it shows for example, the cellulase, it shows the cellulose degradation at up to 50 degrees Celsius. So to reconfirm the stability, actually, not only using the screening, first we need to overproduce that enzyme and then isolate the enzyme and do the enzymatic assay on different temperature, particularly in the high temperature, to see if it's still stable to show the catalytic activity. Okay, that's from Umi. Is there any question for me, Nadia?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There are questions for you.
Okay.
There is a question from Sylvia, Universitas Airlangga.
Okay.
Why some bacteria produce? Yes, sir. This one question.
Okay. So either biosurfactant, maybe it's more related on how they solubilize the substrate that they their carbon source to get. One of the purposes how can they get their carbon source in the like water and oil interface, something like that. And some biosurfactant actually has antimicrobial activity, so it's used for them to compete in that ecosystem to kill their competitor in order to survive in the environment. Okay, that's for Sylvia question. Then, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. So, is there a lot of methanol carbon source in the Changar hot spring? It's a question from Susetyo. In the Changar hot spring area, why is the highest abundance of bacteria using methanol? Yeah, this is actually quite unique. Actually, maybe in the future we need to measure the the chemical composition of the hot spring, but based on the previous result, it just contain like the many salt and some sulfur and bicarbonate ion, but not methanol. Yeah, that's why it's. I wonder how the Methylobacillus, the one bacteria that use the can use the methanol as the carbon source to be one of the dominant genus in there. Maybe that's a very interesting future study. But my guess is they can use methanol, but they can also use other carbon sources. And somehow they are abundant in there. Okay, that's for Susetio. And then I think the next question is for Professor
Dr.
Sao.
Sao.
Okay.
Yes. So I read the question is really good. So what are the requirements for receptors? Because I just said that cancer cells have many overexpressed receptors. So what are the requirements for this to be used as biomarkers? So we are talking about overexpression. When we're talking about overexpression, it's not normal cell has 1 copy and cancer cell has 10. It has to be hundreds or thousands difference fold. So for example, in normal cell, maybe you can have 6 copies of HER2. In breast cancer cells, you can have 6,000 copies of HER2 per cell. So this is what I call you can when you can use it as a biomarker. So I think this is also something you need to do what do you call that, immunohistochemistry, immunocytochemistry, and then maybe sequencing to really know Western blot. Yes, Western blot and PCR. You need to know how many folds are these receptors in the cells before you can use it as a biomarker. And is this specific, which means that it only overexpress in the cells that you want in the cancer and not in other normal cells, so that you can actually target just the cancer cell. So there are a lot of consideration taken into account when you want to find a new biomarker. So that's the one. And the next one is also for me. Oh, and also for Dr. Geraldi, but I'll just answer this first. How to measure the stability of nanoparticle binding to specific receptors? Is there any approaches you do? So the simple answer is we do not calculate the binding of nanoparticles. We measure the binding of the targeting ligand to the receptor. So how do you measure the binding of the receptor to the ligand is using a method called SPR, surface plasmon resonance. So in this machine, you can actually put your target on a slide, maybe a glass slide, and then you put your receptor on top, and then you measure the KD, the binding association. The harder it is for this receptor to detach from the receptor, that is how high the binding affinity is. So you can easily can buy this, and then you can check this. It's not difficult. So next one is Dr. Geraldi.
Okay, so still a question from Putut from Chulalongkorn University. So how do you perform the validation from the metagenomic analysis result you obtain? If you mean the bioinformatic validation, actually I'm still studying that kind of thing. Actually, my friend helped me on this analysis. So based on the method he used, use the UPRSE software to obtain the operational taxonomic unit from the next generation sequencing result, and then it sequence aligned to the database of the rRNA, Silva database. It's one of the most common database to obtain the result of the bacterial community structure in that based on the NGS result. I think it might not be the one, the answer that you wanted, but that as far as I know. Okay. Okay, from the next question from Alifa is, since you have isolated the bacteria from hot spring, what is the future work regarding genetic engineering or field using the isolated bacteria? Okay, that's the interesting question, because that's one of my future plan. Because some of the beneficial bacteria actually still have potency to be the opportunistic pathogen, which will limit the application in some industries like the food and beverage or pharmacy or cosmetic, especially for the production of the biosurfactant and enzyme. So in here we might clone the gene that involved in the products, the metabolic, the synthesis of biosurfactant, and put it to the more safe microorganism, the grass microorganism, generally recognized as safe, such as the yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, something like that, and we can put the gene encoding the enzyme or gene encoding the biosurfactant to that safer host to produce the more safe product related to human consumption. Okay, that's from me, Nadia.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for your explanation. And until now, there are no questions for Dr. Rasul. So I think maybe Dr. Saw want to ask some questions from Dr. Rasul.
So I just want to add something for Alifa, right? So you asked what is the future work regarding the genetic engineering. So there are actually papers published in biointegration. One of the group that is in China right now, what they're doing is they are actually engineering this bacteria as a drug delivery vehicle. It's really cool. You need to read that paper. Yeah, so for yeah, Gary also, I will send the link here. I want to find it first, or I'll send it to your email and you can send it to the student. But there are infinite possibilities of using the bacteria, and I'm very interested in what Gary has found, because all these are actually a new way of we can actually use this as a delivery vehicle for drug delivery and other things. So it's cool. It's very cool.
As Dr. Rasul asked question from Dr. Saw, so maybe Dr. Saw also want to ask Dr. Rasul something.
Oh, for Dr. Rasul, yeah, I really like your talk, because the metabolism in cancer is actually a very new field, and even in China we have a group for cancer metabolism which have like 500 people in it, and they just talk about different breakthroughs that we can see every day. So I think it is one of the field that is difficult, because I think one of the question that if I want to ask is, how are you sure that all the metabolites that you identify is working in the system? Because the metabolites just disappear or just reappear at different times, right, in the body in vivo. So how can you isolate this and then making it work in the in vitro model?
Thank you, Dr. Shah. Actually, I was unable to hear clearly the question because I was okay. So, but what I got from your question, if it's possible, could you make a one line, writing line? So, I got the question, but yeah, but actually for this purpose, if you have gone through with my work, metabolites is one of the issue, but this is the major issue in case of what we say in vivo models, more importantly. But if we talk about the in vitro models, we have the simple enzymatic assay. We have only, of course, in the laboratory, what we have only that particular substrate. We have a particular coenzyme, and when another we use a recombinant protein. So we have, let's suppose we have one epitube, and we mix all these three chemicals. And of course, there is a reaction automatically because there is an enzyme and they make the reactions. And then that substrate change into the, of course, product. Like in this case, in case of malic enzyme, malate changes into the pyruvate. But then what we do, we directly put our like whether we have a synthetic compound and whether we have a natural and whether we have any kind of material which we want to test whether they can inhibit that particular enzymatic activity or not. So because when the reaction take place, let's suppose we have a coenzyme, in this case is the NADP, that is going to be changed into the NADPH, and that level we can measure at 340 nanometer wavelength. So we just measuring this way. This is a simple enzymatic activity reaction, and then when we make sure okay this is working in this enzymatic system, in vitro enzymatic system, then we goes for of course SATSA to further reconfirm whether what we found in this model might be sometime possible that is inhibiting the activity because of debris or because of even can bind directly with that coenzyme. We are not sure in that stage. So that's why we retest that system into by using a SATSA and of course Western blotting sometime to reconfirm that whether our ligand is directly going to bind with that particular protein or not. So that's why as far as the in vitro system is concerned, there is no issue with the metabolites. But I agreed with your question. When we goes for in vivo systems, of course there we have like mice and rats, whatever model we are going to use, of course there's a lot of metabolites, and in that systems we go for metabolomics. As I mentioned in the last in the working plan of my research lab, so for that purpose we go for metabolites, and we know that which is whether that is bind with the whole of the enzyme or whether they are going to bind with the particular metabolites of that enzymes. So for that purpose we are essentially doing the metabolomics ultimately. And what I feel literally in that sense, what I feel and what I my opinion is that the coming era, of course nanoparticle will be there, natural product will be there, but the now what the point we have to focus, that will be the metabolites. Now we started with the DNA, then RNA, and now we are protein, and now we are on the metabolites. So what I really believe, there are certain metabolites. For example, if I give you a simple introduction, only the serine enzyme, we are doing one experiment and some other labs of course are doing recently. We just take out the serine from the cells, only one amino acid, and some cancer cells stop growing, and when we add the serine they start growing. It means they are a single amino acid dependent cells. But the problem, as you mentioned in your slide, heterogeneity. But all cells, of course, not a single type of cells, there are maybe not depending on the serine. So that is a challenging, I think, in terms of cancer, and that's why we are far from the cancer cure. This is my opinion. I might be wrong, and maybe of course you can put your forward what you feel for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I got another question. There is I'm not sure who is. I'm not sure if it is a concern, but I'm curious how will you check the specificity of your inhibitor toward the cancerous cells not inhibiting the enzyme indigenously expressed by the normal cells? Yeah, this is actually what we are doing. We are actually not totally going to what we are doing. This is a very narrow lines which we have to understand. We are not going to demolish the enzymes, and we are not going to knock out or kick out the enzymes. What we are doing, we have to make them the normal level back. Let's suppose there is a certain levels, but in case of normal cells and in case of cancer cells. So of course, then when you are going to start the treatment in that sense, of course, this is very far to say, but that is a dosage. You have to manage the dosage, which dose will be only have that particular level of dose, which lower down the level till the normal level. So of course, the question is concerned whether our enzymes will specifically kill the cancer or not. The one point is that our compound is non-cytotoxic. For example, as I mentioned earlier, they are a non-cytotoxic. But the second, your concern is very real concern. Of course, there might be make the lower level of normal cell as well. But what we did, that can be possible by using what we called it by adjusting the doses of inhibitors. So then you have to achieve that dose which can grow slow down the cancer cells, but not actually demolish the total activity of that enzyme. That could be possible by adjusting the dose response or such kind of things. What I believe, but I can't say for sure that is right or not. We have a question.
Thank you, sir, Dr. Azhar Rasool, for explaining the question.
Thank you. There are some Pakistani students. I also appreciate them. I got one of the. So and even in Air Langa University, if there is I heard there is a number of Pakistani students. So of course, firstly, I am happy to see you all in that very wonderful university, and I'm really happy to see that Professor work from the Air Langa University is doing well about the microbiology. But slightly, we are little bit not much familiar with the microbiology, being a slightly cancer pathologist. But I feel his work is really wonderful, and of course, I hope all the Pakistani students they are doing a wonderful job in Air Langa University.
Yes,
And
sir,
our
we
lot
are
of best
dominating
wishes for you
here.
guys, for all the Pakistani students. And I hope
Yes, sir,
that,
thank
of
you.
course, like Professor Shah, maybe he is very good at Chinese. When I was in China, I was speaking Chinese, so I love to speak. And I hope if you are in Indonesia, so you are love to speak the local language. So I would give you the one suggestion: must go for the local language, must learn the language, Indonesian language. When you come back, you should have another additional things in your CV. You know this language as well. Don't of course you should put the energies on your research work, but as well as on the language learning. That is also one of the interesting what I feel always, because now I can speak little bit with Professor Shah, but of course I'm not going to speak in Chinese because we have only two people. Maybe Professor Shah can speak and I, but at least I can say Nin Hao Lao Shi, and I'm thank Ganshi ni the your work is so good. Han Hao Da. So little bit. Of course, I left China 2012. So, but for the Pakistani students, I leave the message. Okay, goes for research very well. You are a very best institute and in very best country. And of course, you should focus the local language as well.
Yes,
And
sir,
learn and come
for
back with a good.
yes, sir,
Thank you all
about
organizers.
language.
Thank you all organizers.
Thank you so much, sir. And about language, kami sudah belajar bahasa Indonesia. We
But
already have learned.
you still speak English with me, Nadia.
Number of Pakistani
Yes,
guys are
sir.
here. Good to see you all, guys. Good to see you all. Keep going.
Thank you so much, sir.
Nadia, can I have a question
Yes,
to Dr. Sao?
Yes, sir, of course,
Okay,
of course.
okay.
We still have time to ask questions, and there are still questions for Dr. Shaw. Actually, it's overwhelming response on Dr. Shaw presentation, I think. Yes, sir, please, you can ask first.
Sure, that's a wonderful presentation. Mayor, I have a question. Now joining some synthetic biology competition, microRNA for the cancer therapy, something like that. Can you explain how your delivery system can be used to deliver the microRNA or some kind like RNA interference based therapy to the inside the cancer cell?
So for RNA-based therapy, the major problem is instability, right? RNA can get degraded in 5 seconds if you put it out. So the one major reason that we put it in the nanoparticle is to increase the lifetime of the RNA. So how do you encapsulate RNA? First, RNA is a negative charge. So you can use a negative charge or you can use a positive charge nanoparticle to encapsulate, then it will like definitely go inside. But the question is, positive charge nanoparticle is basically toxic to the cells because it goes everywhere, because cells are negatively charged, right? So nanoparticle will go everywhere and it will be toxic to all the organs. So you cannot use that. You can use a neutral charge or a negative charge nanoparticle. So how can you encapsulate a negative charge and a negative charge? You complex the negative charge RNA with a positive charge, let's say peptide or a polymer or a dendrimer first, and then make it into a complex. And so when it's stable as a complex, it's very easy for you to encapsulate. So that's one. The second, there is a difference between the size. siRNA is very small, mRNA is bigger, and peptide is even bigger and protein is bigger. So the size of your nanoparticle is important. If you are just using siRNA, I think the minimum size that we actually made was a 15 nanometer nanoparticle. But when it gets bigger, you just have a bigger nanoparticle, that's all. But it's pretty easy for you to encapsulate the siRNA. If you need, I can send you some protocols.
Okay, thanks a lot, Fair.
No problem.
Excuse me, Dr. Shaw. Thank you for explaining the previous question. I also want to ask something before going to next questions. That as you were explaining that we can combine the active compounds or something to nanoparticles, but how we can show the efficiency that we have combined successfully the drug we are using?
Okay,
Thank you.
so this is a very important question. When you publish a paper, they will ask you, so what happens to the drug? Is it still the same drug? So the easiest experiment that you can do is that you take a same amount of parental drug. So let's say doxorubicin, you take 1 micromole of doxorubicin and you take 1 micromole of doxorubicin in the nanoparticle. Make sure you have the same calculation. And then you do the IC50. If the IC50 of the doxorubicin in your nanoparticle is the same or similar with your parental drug, then you have it. Then your nanoparticle is safe and your drug is not changed. So that's the simplest experiment that you can do.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. And I also have to ask that as you already have worked a lot about nanoparticles, are there any side effects of using nanoparticles if we use it in vivo? And we are using the drugs which are not clinically tested yet. So there might be some.
Yes. So the answer is yes. There is no drug without side effects. That's the first thing that you need to remember, okay? All approved drugs, they have side effects, but all the side effects are acceptable within the range of, like, it's safe, it's deemed safe from the FDA. So if you want to make a drug that is perfectly safe, there is no perfect drug, there is no perfect nanoparticle, okay? So what we are trying to do is, how can you achieve a better therapeutic efficacy than what you currently have? So remember, when you're doing research, you are not, although we are aiming for Nobel Prize, some of us, but you cannot do it straight away. It's not a one-step leap. Okay, you do it incrementally. So if your research today is solving a problem that has not been solved before, then that's enough. You cannot solve all the problem in one research. That's impossible. Okay, that's something that the students need to find out. So do not be depressed if you find out that, oh, this is only a little bit increment from what we have. That is already big. That is already okay. So think about how can you improve on your system and make it better. Okay, so in my case, nanoparticles, do they have toxicity? Yes. So because they are synthetic, they are not natural. That's why I want to go back to nature. So natural drug is always the best, but they also have their own problem. But the thing is, as long as it's within the safety limit that is given by the government, given by FDA, I think that's okay. So you just have to reduce it with maybe using. Okay, one of the thing that using nanoparticle is good because you can actually reduce the amount of drug that you use. So for example, if you use 10 milligram of doxorubicin, probably you can use 1 milligram of doxorubicin in the nanoparticle to have the same effective dose in the patient. So that's what we are talking about.
Yes, because there is no leakage of the drug, so it can go directly. Yeah, thank you so much for your explanation, Dr. Shaw. And I think there are still questions for you.
Oh, wow. What are the factors that influence the reduction or increase in the risk of cancer? There are so many. There are so many factors increase the risk of cancer. Of course, lifestyle, right? You look at the world we live today, mutations, environment, there are so many, just so many, what you eat, everything, it actually influence that. These are factors. You know, if genetically based cancer is only less than 10%, basically 90% is what we are and what we do today to influence the growth of cancer. Like Dr. Rasul said, metabolomics, right? What we eat is what they use as fuel. So if you like to eat oil, greasy or very sweet stuff, they actually use this as their fuel. Okay, so these are the things that increase the risk. The reduction of the cancer, of course, you eat well and then you exercise well. All this we can reduce it, but there is no direct evidence yet. So to say that nanoparticles can increase or reduce the risk of cancer might not be a good question, because that is not directly linked to the increase or reduction of the risk, although it does reduce the cancer burden, or we treat cancer, we do not prevent cancer. So that's my answer. Dr. Gary, your question.
Wah, try to combine my field and your field there. The prospect of biosurfactant in the future, can it be used as a nanoparticle material to fight cancer? As far as I know, some the biosurfactant is the lipopeptide and glycopeptide. I don't know if that kind of molecule can be used as the delivery system for cancer, PR?
Yeah, so actually I have this note right here.
Yeah.
Because I was very interested in your lipopeptide and glycopeptide. So one of the point is that you need to understand how the biosurfactant work. So we use biosurfactant in our experiment to break the oil and the lipid. So is this good enough to make a nanoparticle? We probably can use it in a special way, or we can use it in combination with other lipopeptide or glycopeptide, which is very interesting, because I think last week in Nature they found out that there is this new glycan RNA. So you're probably familiar with the RNAs. There's coding and non-coding RNA, right? So non-coding RNA, like long non-coding or miRNA or sRNA, they found actually a new class of RNAs, which is called the glycan RNA. So does glycopeptide has this, like the same breakthrough? We don't know. We need to do research. I think this is very interesting. So, okay, there's another question. I think we can wrap up after this question, right? But nanoparticles are small in size and cross the blood barriers. Then what happened? I actually don't understand this question.
Blood-brain barrier, something like that, no?
Okay, so the ultra small nanoparticles, they actually can go through BBB. So that's why I make the small nanoparticle. So in blood, they have this BBB, which is very tight, and even normal nanoparticle, which is above 20 nanometers, cannot go through BBB. That's why it's so hard to treat brain cancer. So all nanoparticles that is smaller than 20 nanometer can be used to cross the blood barriers. So what is the progress? I just published a paper in Theranostic earlier this year. We see very good preclinical effect in the brain autotropic model, but whether this is translatable into human, is still a question mark. Because no matter how good is a nanoparticle, no matter how efficient they are, most of them will go to liver, as if all the drugs. When you eat the drug, it goes to liver first. When you inject nanoparticle, it goes to liver first. So how can we reduce the liver retention and make the nanoparticles go to where they are supposed to go? I think that is the $1 million question in nanotherapy. So yeah, if you have any good idea, you can tell me. We have been working on this for 50, 70 years.
Thank you, Dr. Saw, for explaining all questions very well. And we are incredibly grateful to all of you, to Dr. Saw, Dr. Azhar Rasul, and Dr. Almano Grandi. As there are no more questions, so we will be closing this session. And once again, I say thank you so much for the time and effort you took to share your knowledge and thoughts with us and for thoughtful, insightful, and engaging discussions. And we are also thankful to our participants who actively participated in our discussion. And as we are closing this discussion session, so I will be back to our conference manager, Mr. Jordan. Please, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Ms. Nadia. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was an amazing session with such amazing speakers. Thank you for sharing such interesting knowledge with all of us. And for the all keynote speakers, you may leave the room to proceed or continue your other activities. We are beyond thankful for your attendance in today's beneficial session. And then we will now have a break for 1 hour until 12:30 p.m. Western Indonesian time. And after the break, we will continue with parallel session. There will be 4 rooms with different topic. For room 1 has the topic of ecology and environmental sciences. Room 2 for health sciences topic. Room 3 for microbiology and molecular biology. And room 4 for plant sciences. And also we would like to remind you to rename your Zoom username according to the following formats. For presenters, you may write code of room _ code of presenter _ name _ institution. And for participant, you may write participant _ code of room _ name _ institution. We also provide a link for the list of attendance at the parallel session, so don't forget to fill the list of attendance. And after the break, we should use the same link Zoom. We should use the same link Zoom for the parallel session. So you can use that link for joining the parallel session at 12:30 p.m. So please note to join the room meeting before the parallel sessions begins and enjoy your break.